right. Let them have their time. And I have this notion, let's keep these wheels in motion. In motion. For I did not know. Did you think I would let it go? Oh no. And in time, yes, I'll think it's absurd. But until then, you'll leave your words. Play on. Play on. Now it's time to defend your lies. Lies you've been feeding me all this time. And will you reoffend? Oh darling, you say that you are innocent, but your words, they seem irrelevant, but still play on. Now it's time to defend your lies. Lies you've been feeding me all this time. And will you reoffend? Oh darling, oh you have reached your lover's end. No way will we make pretend that we something to fight for. Oh. We had nothing to fight for. We had nothing to fight for. We had nothing to fight for. We had nothing to fight for.
Good evening, race fans, and we're back for Monday night and the ZFS Championship, and we're on to round number 5 at Road Atlanta in the Red Bull Junior, and it's already hotting up. Shake Your Booty has already forced his way to the top of the leaderboard, and there he stays after an emphatic win last week. Now we move on, though. Very, very tricky circuit, especially for these really, really tricky cars, these Red Bull Juniors. Incredibly quick. The slipstream's going to be immense on that long straight heading up to the final couple of corners. And it's going to be anyone's race, but it's particularly going to be one, I think, in those final corners. But we move on to more somber news. This week, we saw the loss of another one of our community to cancer. And I'm going to play a very, very short tribute to him now. Another one of our community sadly lost to cancer this week. But on to this evening's festivities. We're at Road Atlanta in Georgia, USA. It's 2.5 miles, 4 kilometres, 12 turns on a clockwise circuit, and incredibly tricky. Sector 3 is the fast, long straight heading into the tricky final chicane. And coming out of that chicane actually is one of the, for me, most complex exits from a chicane on the racing circuit here, because you've got that, it kind of angles almost immediately round to the right hand side. It's completely unsighted on your way out. You have to kind of pick your point and know where you're going by memory rather than sight. Pit lane entry as well, that's going to be a cropper for some. Very, very tricky pit lane entry after that chicane. Your exit from the chicane is completely different if you're going into that pit, and it's very easy to pick up a penalty. But we're looking forward to an interesting race today. Let's have a little look how the standings look after 4 rounds. That's not the right one, is it? That's the race predictions for today. So, yeah, race predictions look like that, I think. That's the right one. Yes, so race predictions. Shake Your Booty, of course, predicted for the full 25. I don't know if that's the right one or not. I think that's the right one. Yeah, full 25 points for Shake Your Booty in the race prediction stakes. With Shark, again predicted to finish second. He's had some great runs, but not quite getting into that top 3 consistently enough. Amsterdam, So Salty Racing, again predicted for 3rd. With Schmergen predicted 4th. JJ predicted 5th. And Stu Shelton with a prediction of 6th. We saw last week that they went so long at Autopolis on their tyres. I'm not entirely sure that in this Red Bull Junior it's going to be the same case. It's going to be as easy for them to do that. A very unforgiving circuit here, and a very unforgiving car. A car that requires grip to operate at its optimum potential. And when those tyres are gone, they are gone. In terms of requirements for today, let's go through all the requirements. So it is a 30-lap race here. Starts at early dawn, so we will start without light, and it will get lighter as the race goes on. And I'm just going to bring up all the other settings now so I can tell you exactly what the drivers are up against today. Very, very slowly. Why is it operating so slowly? Who knows? I can tell you next week we're at Tokyo Expressway in the Group 3 garage cars. That's going to make for an interesting race. That's followed by Goodwood in the Swifty, and that times quite well because that is Monday week, and on Monday week my daughter will be travelling back from Edinburgh, having seen Taylor Swift in Scotland. So it's Swifty for the Swifties on that particular day. Then we've got where are we after that? Oh, we're at the Broadbean Raceway in the Wicked, which is an interesting car. That's gonna be a difficult car to handle. We're at Le Mans in the Audi R18, and we finish for round number 10. That will be at Kyoto Yamagiwa in the Group 3 cars. But today, we're in that Red Bull Junior at Road Atlanta, 30 laps, 10-minute qualifying as usual from a grid start. Early dawn with sunny weather, so no worries about wet weather tyres. Time multiplier is times 30, so it will absolutely just burn through the day, and it'll be dark by the time we get to the end. Racing tyres, of course. Tyre wear is huge, times 15. Pit stops are going to be absolute paramount today. All 3 tyres allowed and all 3 tyres required, so it is a minimum 2 stopper today. Fuel depletion at times 8, refueling rate at 5 litres a second. I think we're going to see some cars going for a 3 and maybe even a 4-stop strategy with that crazy burn. We're certainly going to see some tyres, some drivers running long on the hard compound tyres just to get some time out on track. But it's most certainly a minimum 2-stop strategy for everybody today. Qualifying due to start any time now. At the moment, we've got Shake Your Booty and Amsterdam there in the room with Schmergen, Stu Shelton, Crazy Taff, Edinburgh Lad, talking to Taylor Swift in Edinburgh. Edinburgh Lad is there. Shark, of course, who's looking to get a good top 10 result if he can. Zumez is there. Jax Vescu as well. Strategy is going to be absolute key. Shake Your Booty is so difficult to beat at the moment. He just seems to dominate every track he races on. He doesn't seem to find the difficulties that everybody else is finding with the car and with the balance and with looking after the tyres. He's just got so much pace and really is the man to beat at the moment. Amsterdam also another one to look out for, but all of these drivers capable of pulling out a win. My kind of outside bet for the season, and I think he's underrated at a B driver, is Shark. I think Shark's certainly got the potential to challenge for a title this season. But the first thing they've got to do is they've got to beat Shake Your Booty. Absolutely got to beat him. He is the number one target for everybody on that racetrack. Qualifying is about to start as they get set up. Just everyone's got to tick in, and then we'll get cracking with some qualifying. We'll do it on board. We'll go on board with whoever goes out first. But it's one of those circuits where the sector 1 is all about your throttle control, all about looking after your car, keeping it off the grass. If you go on the grass here, you can disappear for absolute miles out to one side or the other. So it is all about keeping that car within those track limits, and just, I think for the first few laps, just not putting too much through those tyres, so you've got an opportunity to get a rhythm going before you have to pit for the first time. I'd be very surprised to see anybody qualifying on the softs. Bearing in mind the softs are not going to have much life in them, and you don't really want to be starting on a tyre where you're pitting after just a few laps. You want to get into your rhythm before the race really gets settled down, although we'll see. It may be a good strategy for those who are expecting to qualify somewhere around the midfield, and I expect the qualifying time to be somewhere in the 121 to 122 today. I imagine if you're going to be qualifying in the midfield, then you might be worthwhile going out on those soft compound tyres to qualify, giving yourself a bit of a higher start, but in the knowledge that you're going to be using those tyres early on and you're going to have to pit pretty early. I imagine those challenging for a win here will be opting to stop late and have a late charge with the softer compound and the quicker tyres with the low fuel on board as well, particularly as it's going to start to get dark as the race goes on. It's going to start dark and finish dark today. But qualifying is about to begin, so we'll jump across straight into the qualifier. 10 minutes of qualifying, of course, in these Red Bull Junior cars, and these are very, very quick single-seaters. And we'll see who can put themselves on pole position. So Dan out first, and he's very keen to get things underway from the outset. We'll have a good look at the liveries once it lines up, which it will do pretty shortly because it is at dawn at the moment. But once he's on his hot lap, we'll go on board here. But you can see you can see where the grass and the runoff areas. If you get caught out on the wrong one here, it really will throw you a long way off the racetrack. Here, this double right-hander, very tricky. You go wide here, you're into that gravel, and it will lose you so much time to try and recover from there, particularly as you need a brilliant exit up this hill. This is the long run where you're going to have cars in your slipstream vying to get past you. And it's going to be absolute paramount, the slipstream here today. Right, let's jump on board as this lap starts. We'll see how he gets his laps set up. So into the chicane you go, down into second gear. Get that rotation straight away. You want to feather that power, get the car straightened up, and you're flicking to the right hand side, but you want to hug the left as you do it to get the best run through and across the line to start your lap. Sticking to the left hand side, using as much road as you can, a little dab of brake, nothing much, down to fourth gear. Keep the power, keep the pace through that turn one, drifting to the right hand side for turns 2 and 3, which you drop down to third gear. Again, you're powering down. You've got another little lift, a little touch and a little lift as you go through this mini chicane, up the hill and then onto the brakes into third gear, missing that gravel trap if you can. A little bit of a run now. You can get the pace in the car, get up to fifth gear before you get into these two turns here. Michelin board on that left hand side is your brake marker. The double right hander here, very tricky. Second gear, first gear even he goes down to get the rotation for that final corner. Then it's a run up the hill, cycling through those gears. You want to use all of the revs in this little Red Bull Junior when you're not worried about fuel. So when you're on your qualifying pace like he is now, and he's qualifying on those medium compound tyres, you want to use all of the revs available to you. Looking for the third of those boards, that's when you're changing down. Second gear, get the rotation, start working your way up through the gears under the Fox sign. This is where you really need to get a good exit as well out of that chicane. Round the final corner and across the line, that's at 1:21.1. That's not a bad start for a lap around Watkins Glen. Not Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta. Watkins Glen is in New York. This is in Georgia. So it is Dan. That's a brilliant lap from him. 1.2 seconds clear of anyone else currently. Vescu with a 22.3. And you can see already the light already starting to join us. Shake your booty. There he is. He's the man to watch out for. Can't do better at the moment, though, than 1:23.3. Shark with a 23.5. Puts him just outside the front two rows on row 3. He's got Crazy Taff for company with that 23.6. Zumez just 1/10 behind, 23.7. And Schmergen just outside the 123s in those low 124s with the old Damon Hill Canon Renault livery. Love that livery. That reminds me of the old days. Also the Ayrton Senna as well drove that car. So great throwback tribute, particularly we've had a weekend of Ayrton Senna tributes, and what a weekend of what a weekend of racing it was. It was absolute dog shit at the Monaco Grand Prix, which is a waste of time if you ask me. That race is for the drivers and for the rich only. Race fans, it's absolute. There's nothing in it for spectators, nothing in it for race fans at the Monaco Grand Prix unless you own a boat. Absolutely no business on the F1 calendar. It was boring. In fact, the 4-hour rain delay waiting for the Indy 500 was more interesting than the entire Monaco Grand Prix weekend, and I stand by that. But yeah, anyone who stayed up for that Indy 500 was a great race, and to say that they were only turning left, but the thing is, we all know the Indy 500 generally, the two best parts of the race is all the crashes, of which there were loads, and the last 20 laps, which is absolutely full on. That's not going to be a great lap for Schmergen off the track there. And not to forget, Jack's he's got the standard Red Bull black and white livery on there, looking good, but he's yet to set a good representative time. Just the 10 runners here in Lobby 1 this evening. You can catch all the action live from Lobby 2 with Quintus if you so wish right now. That's always good for got some wheel-to-wheel action. But Dan's still on the top of the pile with that 1:21.1, and we were on board for that lap. Very, very good hot lap from him. Shark gets himself onto that front row with a 22.1 at the moment. Shake Your Booty struggling to break to hold on to the top 5, let alone to break his way into the front row, and we are already over halfway through this qualifying session. That Shark in the Mora Hesketh Racing tributed Red Bull Junior, of course, with the Scottish flag on his car. Currently running in second, and the gap now is down to just 0.6 of a second. So he's starting to find some pace now in that little Red Bull Junior, and to close the gap on Amsterdam for pole. Also running, of course, on those medium tyres. We are questioning Shake Your Booty's pace, but we haven't checked his tyres. He's running the hard compound tyres in qualifying, which does go some way to explain his pace. He's not going to improve much on that 22.6 with that 1 second penalty. But I suppose the benefit from him is he's going to burn those hard tyres, which are a requirement early doors. Now, the thing is, because it's such high tyre wear, I would have thought that the hard tyres would be, although slower, would be a much more promising opportunity. I couldn't think of the word. Much more promising opportunity to use in terms of avoiding a pit stop, because you've got so much. I mean, the pit stop here alone is 25, 26 seconds for a pit stop, but you've got that added jeopardy of going in. And what we'll do, we'll go on board here with. I should have done a little video to demonstrate how difficult it is. Let's find someone who's coming up to it now. So we're with Schmergen here. So you come into the braking zone. I don't know if he's going to go into the pits. You get turned in here. When you come out now, if you're going to complete the lap, you stay where he is on that left-hand side. But the entrance here is on the right. You can see it there. Now, you already will have got a penalty for crossing the line there. So your exit from the chicane is completely different. And like the final corner, completely unsighted. So you're kind of going into the pits blind. You have to almost slow down too much to ensure you get in and don't pick up a penalty. And it is so easy to pick it up on the way in. But equally, the car wants to drift you left on the way out. And it's very easy to pick one up on the way out as well. So, a 3-second penalty here, where the penalty line is, in that fastest part of the circuit, heading down to that final chicane, it's worth almost 5 seconds of lost time when you serve that 3-second penalty, because you lose. Well, firstly, you scum off so much speed, but you don't get an opportunity to get back up to speed before the end of that straight, with just how much it brutalises your time. But you can see there just what they're up against with going into the pits. So, are you better off just staying out longer? Because you're going to lose your 25 seconds. You could potentially lose another 6 seconds with a penalty. I'm not sure it's worth the trade-off that you get for pitting more often. The gap down to Dan. Dan's not been able to do it. That was a phenomenal lap, that 1:21.1. I don't think, unless the wind changes in the next 40 seconds, I don't think we're going to see anybody going quicker than that. But Vescu has got within 5/100th of a second, put himself on row 2. Crazy Taff as well, within 1.7 tenths of a second. Shark within that 0.3 or for within half a second certainly of Dan. So the top four very, very close, and none of that. All those top. Well, we've got one of those Vescu on the soft compound tyre, so he's going to be pretty racy from the off on those softs, and will, assuming he stays there, of course. We still got everyone's still got their final lap to do. He could potentially open up a bit of a lead early doors. Sharks on the mediums, Stu Shelton on those mediums. He's on row 3. Edinburgh Lad joins him on those hards. That's a really, really good lap on the hards in the Heineken liveried Red Bull Junior to get himself onto row 3, just ahead of Shaky Booty. Also going to start on those hards. Zumez hards, but he's got damage on his car. Jax also starting on the hards, as is Schmergen, who's picked up some damage. That's his final lap. He doesn't improve. Does Dan improve on his... Who else is coming across the line there? So can Jax improve? It looks like he's down on his time. No, just improves, but not significantly. What about Dan? Did Dan improve on his time? Round the final corner he comes. 1:21.1 is the target. 1:21.5 for him. Vescu's opportunity now. Can Vescu put himself on pole? Round that final corner. 1:21.1 is the target. He's not any quicker. Crazy Taff. He's the next one to challenge. He's currently sitting on row 2. 1:21.2 is his fastest time. Round that final corner, he's already well over that. He's not going to improve. Shark doesn't improve. Stu Shelton doesn't improve. Shake Your Booty doesn't improve either. So here is the final result for qualifying. It is Dan with that first hot lap of 1:21.1 that makes all the difference and puts him on pole position. Crazy Taff, who is third behind Vescu. He was on those medium compound tyres. It is Shark in third. He was also on the mediums. Stu Shelton was the first of the hard tyre runners. Fifth on the grid. Shake Your Booty is sixth. He was also on the hards. Then we've got Jax also on those hards. We've got Edinburgh Lad, who's also on those hards. Jax was on the hards as well. He's in 8th position. Zumez on the hards in 9th. Schmergen, who was 10th on the hards as well. Now, I don't know why they're resetting because of the time dilation, I imagine. So it's going to be set by host. No, it's not. It's being reset because DJ has arrived to join us. He's misqualified. He'll actually start from the back of the grid now. He's got free choice of tyres, of course, because he didn't qualify. So he got away with that. But then I suppose they've all got to use it every compound. And we'll see what compound he starts with. So room being currently prepared. So Vescu. Vescu is the only driver that opted to start on the soft compound tyre. He's given himself some work to do. He needs to get up and out there very, very quickly. Get on that power. Get it out on into the lead and up ahead of Dan. And build himself a nice little gap, because he is going to be the first one to pit here at Road Atlanta. The medium tyre runners, we've got Dan. We've got Taff. We've got Stu. We've got... Who else was it? Schmergen, I think. No, it wasn't Schmergen. What we're talking about. Taff. We've got Stu. We've got Shake. My handwriting is absolutely awful. I've written it down. Shark as well. I really should learn to write neater. I can't even read my own handwriting. Shark so Shark was on the mediums. And hards was Stu, Shake. We've got Edinburgh Lad was on the hards. Jax was at Zumez. And, of course, Schmergen, all starting on this hard compound tyre. So we don't expect to see them putting in any big moves on the top 4 early on. But as the race progresses and the cars ahead going for their first pit stop, we'll see those hard tyre runners just going a little bit deeper into the race and being able to build themselves a little bit of a cushion. they will have available to them medium and soft tyres for later in the race. It will be interesting to see if anybody goes for more than a 2-stop. I imagine you could probably do this. I say it's a foregone conclusion with 30 laps that you could do this with just a 2-stop. But are you going to want to do more than that and maximise the softer compound tyres? Or, as we were saying earlier, with the problems we're going into the pits, the potential pitfalls, for want of a better expression, of the penalty, are you preferable to just stay out for longer on the tyres that last the longest? We will see, and we're about to find out because the race is about to begin here at Road Atlanta. This is the ZFS Championship. This is round number 5. We're at Road Atlanta. This is lobby number 1. This is where the magic happens. And we are ready to start, if I can get all my details up quickly enough. And we'll always do what we always do. We'll start from the midfield and we'll go with the chase cam. That's 3 lights, that's 4, that's 5, and we are away. And a good start from pretty much everyone, although a great start there. You can see in the Heineken car for Edinburgh Lad, he had a great start, but couldn't cycle through those gears quite quick enough through turn 1. Nice and clean, top 4 staying as they are. No real change at the back. Dan holding on from Vescu at the moment, but Vescu on those soft compound tyres will want to make an early move if he can past Amsterdam. And Dan, of course, chasing down, Dan and Shark are chasing down the ever fast Shake Your Booty, who's back in 6th at the moment. How about that? Max Verstappen started in 6th yesterday. Is this going to be a repeat of that? We're not a Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen actually is very similar to Monaco. It is a bit of a procession. Not that many overtaking opportunities, but here there certainly is a couple. Into that double right-hander, there's a couple of opportunities there. Absolutely into the chicane at the end of this straight and down the straight with Slipstream are your overtaking opportunities through here. Turn 1, if you've got massive cojones. If you leave a gap here, there is a gap up the inside. On either of these, you can make that move. Vescu tucked in nicely behind, already just starting to edge away from Shark back in 3rd. Wrong button, that's the one I wanted. That's the end of lap 1. We begin at lap 2 with Vescu desperately trying to get ahead on those soft compound tyres. Crazy Taffs, the top 4 were the only ones that didn't start on those hards. DJ, so Edinburgh Lads, Schmergen and Zumez all ran the hard tyres for 1 lap and are ditching them. Not sure how I feel. Well, I say not sure how I feel about it. It's very clear how I feel about it. If you've got a mandatory tyre, run it for the fucking term at a time, man. It just seems. What's the point? There's no point in having a mandatory tyre if you're going to get rid of it after 1 lap. It's a pointless exercise. You might as well not have a mandatory tyre. But they've come straight out on the mediums. They are clearly not happy with the performance on those hards. But that means now they don't have to use them again. And we know that they're not going to either. DJ, he decided to start on those hards. Jackson stayed out on the hards. Stu Shelton's on those medium tyres, which he's just put on. So he's... excuse me, he's got the soft and the mediums available to him. Zumez, Edinburgh Lad, Schmergen, they've all been into the pits for fresh tyres. Zumez already 2.4 seconds back, Edinburgh Lad 1.4 behind Schmergen. So those 3 have all opted to go straight onto the racing mediums now. That's DJ into the pits to get rid of those hard compound tyres. So clearly, some people don't want to run the hards for any longer than necessary. We won't go on again about my disappointment of that. So far, no penalties though. So that's the key. If you can do this without picking up a penalty, it's not necessarily a bad idea. But Dan still in the lead of this race. Using the Red Bull livery on the Red Bull Junior, which would make absolute sense to me. Just opening up to about 9/10 of a second. Vescu really wants to get tucked in right under the rear wing of that car ahead for running up this hill, because he's going to be losing out, especially if Shark gets tucked in behind him. Dan will want to break that 1 second barrier to make sure that he doesn't give up any time to rescue, and if he can keep the soft tyre runner behind him, he puts himself in a very, very strong position. Shake Your Booty up to 5th with that very pink Milka or purple Milka livery. He's into the pits to get rid of his hard compound tyres. So the only drivers left to run hards now are going to be Dan, Vescu, Taff, Shark and Stu Shelton. They've all started on hard compound, on medium or soft compound tyres. Interesting. So does that mean that those that aren't using hards, are they going to do a similar strategy? Are they going to run the hards for a singular or 1 or 2 laps, or a single lap or a lap and a racing lap maybe? Certainly looks like that might be the case. Now, does that change this race from a 2-stopper to a 3-stopper? I think it does. I don't think you can run 1 stop from lap 1 to lap 30 with the tyre wear as it is. But I may stand corrected. I haven't driven the car. I don't know. Dan leads the way. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He's outside that 1 second window now. So he's not giving up anything to Vescu behind in terms of slipstream, or certainly not anything significant. Nothing to write home about. Vescu is hanging on in 2nd, Shark hanging on in 3rd, Crazy Taff in 4th. Those top 4 have really edged away now from Stu Shelton. The gap between them 3 seconds. It's a further 3.1 back to Stu Shelton in 5th. And he's already he's already running alone, really. Those top 4 disappeared off up the road. Everyone behind now pitting, or have pit to get rid of. I think that's everybody now. Yeah, that's everybody now has got rid of those hard compound tyres. Jax was the only one that held out for longer than a couple of laps. He will come out where? Has that cost him time? That's the big question. So slow coming out of the pits here. Around he comes, and he pops out just ahead of DJ. And literally just ahead of DJ. DJ up to speed and could already got the heatings with tyres, heatings with brakes. He hasn't just stopped. He's got his rhythm already. Could he have a little run on Jax as they head up the hill? We'll see here. We'll go into my drone cam behind, and we'll see if they get him. He gives a good exit here. He's just 6/10 behind. This is where he needs a really good exit. Not quite so good. Jack's got a much better exit out of there, and that just allowed him to edge away. And DJ's not close enough to benefit from that. I take it, Megatron, you're not a fan of Red Bull. Or you're not a fan of Amsterdam, one of the two. So DJ dropping back now. Once you lose that slipstream, really difficult to catch back up, and that's cost DJ a bit of time. He needs to get some heat to put some pressure, on Jax before he gets all the heat into his tyres. Just one car running soft. That's Vescu. He is already looking at the back of Amsterdam. He has been now for 6 laps. So getting no real pace benefit over both Dan and Taff, who've both had the fastest lap of the race. Taff just stealing that away from Dan, as Vescu actually goes purple, say that, so he might steal it this time. Round that final chicane they go. He is a little bit closer this time, but there is no real overtaking opportunity until they get way into Sector 2. Sector 1, the only time really, I suppose into Turn 1 if there's an error, someone goes a bit wide, but I think the only real opportunity without a mistake for an overtake is going to be when you get to the double right-hander at the very bottom of the hill here. And you can see as they're winding down to the lowest point of elevation here at Road Atlanta. And he's sticking within that 7/10, But the problem, of course, the problem, of course, as Vesky makes that. What happened to Dan? Did Dan make a mistake there? Because he got past him very easily. Oh yeah, Dan just got a little bit trigger happy, went a little bit sideways, and that let Vesky through and into the lead of this race. So this is now Vesky's time. He's on those soft tyres. He needs to make it count. Well, I suppose not everybody can love Red Bull, can they? So yeah. I suppose they're driving a Red Bull car, so it kind of makes sense to have a Red Bull livery on it, doesn't it? It would be weird not to. Although some of these other liveries look absolutely awesome. My favourite, of course, is on Shake Your Booty. No, it's not. Who is it that's got the tribute livery? I'll find it in a second. There it is, Schmergen. This is my favourite one. This is the old Williams throwback livery, the Renault livery. He's actually gone for the Mansell car. It's got Mansell that side, Mansell that side. But it has got, and that is that DJ making a move? It is. That's DJ making a move on Schmergen. We caught that nicely while we were looking at Schmergen's livery. So DJ did start to find some pace, and now past Schmergen, who's dropping down off the pace a little bit. 122.5, his fastest lap, but he has got significant damage on that car. That's going to be a penalty. The way he went across the line, then I think that's a pit lane penalty. Well, I don't know. I don't think the penalties are on. So if the pit lane penalty's not on, then he's laughing. One thing I think they should be on a track like this, because I think it makes it forces the decision as to whether pit stops are worth it or not. But it looks to me they've turned them off because he was all the way across that line, and I don't see any penalty popping up. But we'll have a little look now, because see just how much time you lose with repairing that damage. So there we go, 25 seconds, and that's only since he crossed the start-finish line. That doesn't include the entry to the pits as well. So it is a massive, massive time loss. Out he comes, and you can see there 145. That's a lap with a pit stop compared to a 123. So he is already a lap down on a couple of cars, and he obviously didn't pick up the penalties. So they've not got the penalties on. Right, so that puts that changes things strategy-wise. See, now it is worth getting rid of the rubbish tyres because there is no jeopardy in pitting. There's no penalty for getting it wrong. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I like the idea of heavy damage, and I like a number of the some of the rules being turned off in terms of shortcuts and things like that, and weak penalties and shortcuts, and I get that. But I think the pit lane penalty, particularly when you've got something so balanced with so many, at least a couple of mandatory pit stops, I think it brings an element of jeopardy into the race, and I think it brings in enough jeopardy that people will reconsider ditching the slow tyres early on for fear of a big penalty like that half-second penalty, like the 3-second penalty that you get for the pit line. I quite like it, but different strokes, different folks. You know how it is. But Vescu is leading, and he's starting just to edge away from Dan at the moment. But he's going to be, I said he was going to be the first one to pit. He wasn't, but he's the first one who's going to be pit out of necessity. But it does seem to be that these soft tyres are lasting longer than I expected them to. Whether or not you can go this race from that one on just soft and medium without putting yourself in extreme danger, I don't know. But I seem to get proved wrong time and time again by these guys. These guys seem to not have any problems with grip once the tyres go red. They seem to just be able to drive and drive and drive. Any other battles? With Shark there now starting to close on the back of Dan and put him under a bit of pressure for second. He's got the slipstream. He's going to pull out that move. Dan holding on to the outside line. He knows that gives him the inside line in the second part of the chicane. But Shark gets the job done in the first part. He can tuck in, take the apex on the exit of that chicane, and up into second goes Shark. That's a good move. puts Dan down, the pole sitter, into third. Let's have a look at the big movers and shakers. So Dan from pole now down in third position. We've got Vescu, who started on that front row alongside Dan. He's up to first. Sharks moved up from fourth place. He's up into the top two now. We've got Crazy Taff. He qualified in third. He's lost a position. He's down in fourth. Stu Shelton holding on to where he qualified in fifth, still running in fifth position. Shake Your Booty, he started behind him in sixth, and he's holding on there. He was one of those that started on the hard compound tyre, but he's started to find some time now on those mediums. He's got the fastest lap of the race with a 21.2 on those medium compound tyres, but is still 23 seconds off the top five, because the top five still yet to put in their first pit stop. Edinburgh lad started in seventh, still running in seventh. Jax, he started in eighth, he's down to ninth place. Zumez up from ninth into eighth, he's gained a position. DJ starting in 11th, he's up to 10th, and Schmergen has lost a place down to 11th position. Out in front though, no change. And actually Dan started to drop off the pace, and I wonder if he is implementing a little bit of fuel and tyre saving. Well, not significantly. He hasn't really. He's got maybe a half a lap fuel more than Shark, but seems to be losing a lot of time at the moment. He did have the fastest lap on lap 6, but since then just seems to be dropping off the pace. Now that could be just a ploy, just to look after the tyres and fuel, see if he can overcut the cars in front, let them go off, let them take that little bit more pressure out of their tyres, let them burn that little bit more fuel. But as I said, you can see there's not much difference between him and those front runners. In fact, Vescu out in the lead has more fuel on board, despite the fact his tyres are going to give out earlier, being that he's on those softer compounds. Crazy Taff, he's on those mediums. He's taking quite a lot out of those mediums, but he's doing quite well on fuel. He's got 4 seconds over Stu Shelton, who's the only other runner not to have pit at this stage. But he's 1.7 behind Dan now. So as Dan starts dropping away from Vescu and Shark up in first and second, he's dropping towards Crazy Taff, but Crazy Taff making a mistake into the chicane, gets him breaking all kinds of wrong. And I'm sorry to say that, my friend, but you can't park that there. You can see there all over the gravel he goes. His tyres are going to take a few corners to get back up to speed after that absolute cock up into the chicane, and that's put him right into Stu Shelton's crosshairs. And obviously with Stu Shelton having much cleaner rubber, he can make a little move on Crazy Taff as they head up the hill. He just needs to start edging under the wing of the Welshman as they head through this series of feathered corners before they make the run up towards the chicane again. And he is closing that gap where Taff just has the dirt on those tyres. He's losing that little bit of grip. He has to brake that little bit earlier, and that's allowing Stu to close the gap. Good exit out of this chicane, and we could see a move into that final chicane at the top of the hill. Stu getting a good run. He's only 7 tenths behind on the power, revving it all the way through the gears, already closing. He's tucking as close as he can to pick up as much of that slipstream. Let Taff punch a hole through the dirty air and give him a nice clean run. That suction effect that just pulls the cars closer. Wasn't quite close enough to get any kind of decent benefit from it. Round that chicane he goes, but he gets a good exit out of there as they head down towards the final corner and the end of lap 13. Vescu does pit from the lead on those soft compounds. We knew he was going to be the first to pit for necessity, and that's exactly what he has done. Stu Shelton still chasing down Crazy Taff after that mistake. Is Taff a little bit more cautious now into that chicane after that mistake, which is just allowing Stu to close that gap and just edge that ever closer to the back of the Welshman's car. So we're looking at Vescu. Vescu is in the pits. Out he comes now. Where does he slot in? Bear in mind that there are a couple of cars that pit really early on to get rid of the hard compound tyre. He's coming out on the mediums. He's going to run the end of the race on the hards. So it will be literally a couple of laps of the hard compound tyres, because he took it to lap 14 on the softs, which surprises me actually. There's no point having that as a mandatory if you can run the race with just the soft and mediums. So it's a pointless addition. But there we go. 1.4 seconds is the gap to Zumez. Zumez, of course, pit early on with those soft compound, with the hard compound tyres on. So Vesky's going to have a good run at him now. Shark is in. Dan is in. So actually, with those softs or with those mediums, they didn't get significantly more benefit than Vescu did. In fact, only pitting one lap later. What tyres are they coming out on for their second stint? Because they came in on mediums. I'm assuming they're not coming back out on medium tyres. They're coming out on the hards now. Do they run a long run on these? Well, it doesn't look like it. It looks like Shark is going to do one lap on those hard tyres and come in because he put no fuel on board on that stop. Dan did exactly the same thing. So they're going to do one lap on the hard compound tyres, come in, change the tyres out, and then run the softs to the end of this race by the looks of things. That's upset me. Disappointed. Shake your booty. Still in a really good position. He's even fifth in that Milker car. Milker. And running quite well. He's got the fastest lap of the race with a 21.2. So I've got a sore throat. 1.6 seconds off the back of Dan. He has pit already because he pit to get rid of hard compound tyres. He's still got one more pit where he can pit for the softs. The cars ahead will have one pit. So actually, he's going to be in quite a good position because he'll have hard tyres in which to... he'll have soft tyres in which to put a chase down on those guys ahead. Although they will also be running the softs. Right, that's Crazy Taff in. That's his second stop. He originally had the mediums on. Sorry, that's his first stop. Because he started on those mediums, so that's actually Taff's first stop. So he did lead for a little while, so there is Taff. Now, where does he slot in? He should slot in just behind Dan. He doesn't, because Shark and Dan, as we thought, went in, just did the one lap on the hard compound tyre. So now they're going to run to the end of the race on the softs. So Taff still needs to stop again. He's still got some laps to do on the softs. So what does he choose to do here? Does he just run that one lap on hards and nip straight back into the pits? Or does he run some soft compound tyres just for the end of the race? Go for a... sometimes, you're not... If you're not in that front three, why not try something? There's a potential to try something new. Run a little bit longer on the hards and maybe, just maybe see if on some really, really powerful softs, if you can do something. And we're already through the daytime. We're essentially emulating over a 24-hour race here over the course of these 30 laps. It's basically an hour a lap, so blasting through days, a 30-hour race essentially. Right, so Shake Your Booty is into the lead of the race. He's still got a stop to do for medium, for soft compound tyres. Stu Shelton in, Edinburgh Lad in, Zumez in. It's difficult really to see where all the cars are. I think Shake's in a really good position. I think Jax is in a good position. Shark still ahead of Dan, or is he? No, that's Dan ahead of Shark. What happened there for that to change over? Because it wasn't always that way, and that is that's a straight standard slipstream move. But this time round, he held that inside line this time and just prevented Shark from taking the inside through the chicane, and that allowed him just to snip up ahead, did Dan. So Dan in a really good position. Vescu out in front is 10 seconds clear. He's got some damage. But remember, he needs to run the hards. So he's going to have to pit again at the end of this race for hard compound tyres. Now, I didn't change the race gamma because when you make it look good for night time, it looks absolute dog shit for day. It looks really weird. But obviously now we're not going to get great views of the cars. Night races do not great broadcasting make. Let's just say that, shall we? So you kind of have to account for it when you're doing 24-hour races and stuff. It's easier because each time you go into a lobby, and there are separate lobbies for it, you can adjust per lobby. But when you've got a race like this, it's not something you can really adjust for. So Shake Your Booty leads. He still needs to pit for soft tyres. That will happen in the next lap or two. Jack's in the very same position. He needs to stop for soft tyres. Again, that'll be this lap or next. Stu Shelton with his second pit stop. He's going to be coming out on... Is he coming out on the hard compound tyre? So Vescu, he needs one more stop. He's got pit for the hards. He's got damage on the back of that car, but opting to stay out on the medium compounds. Dan has done both stops. He's going to the end on those softs, currently running in fourth. He's pulled out 1.5 seconds over Shark, who is also doesn't have to stop again. He's on those soft compound tyres. Shake Your Booty in for his final stop. Where he comes out is going to be absolute paramount. He's going to be on the softs and he's going to be quick. Edinburgh Lad, he's done both stops now. So he is 11.1 off that top 5. Stu Shelton 1.5 behind him. He's done all of his stops, as has Zumez and Crazy Taff. Schmergen, I think he's got a stop left to Schmergen. DJ's done both of his. I think Schmergen's got one stop left to do. So Shake is in, Jax is in, Vescu, he's still got a stop to do, which will be for hard. So that will, I imagine, he'll either opt to repair that damage and just run long on the hards, or he'll hang on with that damage and just run a lap or two at the very end on those hard compounds. So Vescu into the lead of the race by 1.1 seconds. Shake Your Booty back out in second. He has leapfrogged Dan and Shark and who else was up there? Dan, Shark and Taff, who's back in 8th position now. So that's a big leapfrog. Also leapfrogging Stu Shelton, who's 2.2 seconds behind Edinburgh Lad as it stands. So losing a couple of places there. So Stu dropping from 5th down to 6th. Shake Your Booty, massive jump into the lead of this race as he breezes past Rescue with the greatest of ease. He's on the soft compound tyres and he doesn't have to stop again. I'll tell you what, that strategy absolutely stonking. And if he wins this race, this will be another win. I think this is a win in every single race this season thus far. We're on race number 5. He's a bit of a Max Verstappen, isn't he? A bit of a Max Verstappen, the Greek driver. And bearing in mind, he qualified in 6th position. So a really, really good fight up to the lead of this race. Vescu still needs to stop, as we know. He's really going to lose out. I think starting on those softs, I don't think that has worked out too well for him, particularly with the fact that he's had a crash and picked up some damage. That will affect him quite badly. Dan closing the gap, 1.3 seconds. He's 1.6 clear of Shark there in 4th, who is chasing down that top 4 though, absolutely dominating over the rest of the field. Edinburgh Lad ahead of Stu Shelton back in the battle for 5th and 6th, although not much of a battle at the moment, because where is Stu? Looks like Stu has made an error because he was not too far behind him. So we'll have a look here. Oh, he gets it all kinds of wrong, all over the grass. You see what happens when you catch the grass on one side, flings you off to the other, and those other 2 cars coming through prevented him from getting back onto the racetrack and ultimately getting back up to speed, which put him in a really, really compromised position. And he's now got Jack all over the back of him. Although Jack's with that half-second penalty, that should give Stu Shelton the breather that he needs. There we go. Jax was threatening to make the move, but Stu Shelton saved by the half-second penalty. But Jax will be buoyed by that because Stu Shelton's tyres will be covered in a lot of muck from the grass and what have you. Although he did save any damage, which is obviously ideal. DJ still back in 10th position and is 18 seconds clear of Schmergen. But Vescu, I think, I did wonder if that strategy of starting on the softs was a good idea. Clearly not, because you can see there with that damage, Dan coming through into the double right-hander and moving up the inside, and there's not a lot Vescu could do. He could, if he gets a good exit, use that slipstream and come back at him in the chicane. But that damage on the rear of the car, just knocking off that little bit of performance. And I think it's going to be a bit of a battle for him, because now Shark is going to be making the move. Shark looking up the inside on Vescu. Vescu losing 3 places in 2 laps, tanking through the order. The damage on that car proving not to be wise to sit with. He may have been better off getting pit, getting repaired, putting on the hard compound tyres. He's still got a pit again, remember. He's still got a pit stop to do, as far as I think he has. I don't remember Vescu pitting for the hard tyres. Maybe he did. Looking at his wear, he must have done, surely. We'll see. We will see. I'm sure he's the only one I haven't written down that's done their 2 stops. Maybe I missed it. So, is he in danger now for Edinburgh Lad? Edinburgh Lad's under no pressure from Crazy Taff, who's dropped out of that top 5, down into 6th ahead of Zumez. But Edinburgh Lad, you can see the time between him and Vescu coming down. If Vescu's got a pit, he's not going to come out anywhere much before around Jax and Stu Shelton. Jack's now ahead of Stu Shelton on this lap 22 of 30. This is round 5 of the ZFS Championship, brought to you by ZFS Racing. ZFS Racing is a Gran Turismo community racing league, which is essentially a meta game. It's a game within a game. It's online career mode for Gran Turismo players, and it is very, very clean, very, very hard racing. This is round number 5, brought to you from the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. This is lobby 1. We've got 2 other lobbies of racing. The other one being televised, of course, by Corentus, is lobby 2. And that ahead, that was Jackson Crazy Taff having a little battle. Jackson Zumez up ahead having a battle. Zumez making the move on Jax. So let's have a little look. Shake your booty. 8 seconds clear. 120.4, 120.5. I was expecting to see that sort of time in qualifying. We didn't get the sub 121s. And then Shake Your Booty put some soft tyres on in the race and is putting in these blistering times and pulling away now from Amsterdam in second. Dan just opening up a 2.2 second gap from Shark there in third, who's at the moment 3.6 ahead of Vescu. But Vescu might be in real danger of being sucked out of that top 4 with Edinburgh Lad closing fast. Even if he doesn't have to stop, he seems to have not found any pace on these medium tyres and dropping right off the numbers since he swapped out those soft compound tyres early doors. And remember, at one stage he was leading this race and qualified second on the grid. Just the back end, just trying to step out through the chicanes. He tries to find some additional grip and try and open up the gap from Edinburgh Lad, but Edinburgh Lad from Scotland, of course, closing that gap. 8.7 to Zumez, the Portuguese driver, got past Jax and already 2.2 seconds up the road, but not closing that quickly on Edinburgh Lad at the moment. Jax, we saw him get past Crazy Taff. We saw Zumez making the move, and then we saw Jax getting past Stu Shelton. But now 1.4 seconds to Crazy Taff, and the Welshman is going to be looking to recover after qualifying third on the grid. He's on the soft compound tyres, and he's not found anywhere near the pace on the softs that he had when he was on those medium tyres. Really seems to be struggling with keeping the car on the road. And he's under significant pressure from Stu Shelton, and with another penalty to his name. Stu Shelton making that move before the penalty line. And that's even more devastating because Taft's not going to be able to stay with him. And he's again going to be behind Stu Shelton and losing out because of a half-second penalty. And we'll see it here as they go through the line. We're right on board here. You can see they come up under the Motul sign. There's your penalty line there, just up ahead. The gap, 0.7 of a second. Wait till they get to the braking zone. See just how brutal that half-second penalty really is. Into the braking zone they go. There is Stu Shelton on the brakes. There is Taft on the brakes. The gap is 1.6 seconds. So almost double the penalty time here. Whatever penalty you get, really struggling again. And you can tell he's on controller though. It's much easier to save a slide like that when you're on controller. But yes, sliding those tyres through the corners, not going to be good on tyres. There's your race leader in the Milka Red Bull. 8.4 seconds clear. And unless he makes a massive error, I struggle to see it past this guy to take a 5th win from 5 races. Shake Your Booty been absolutely on point, devastating all season. No mistakes, not a foot put wrong. Dan, the biggest challenger to the title for me, just not. I mean, he's found sub 121 laps, so he's got that pace in that car on those soft compound tyres. The pace is there, but he's not finding it quite as consistent as Shake Your Booty. Although saying that, Jax, with the fastest lap of the race, that's a 20.3. So if Jax can do that 20.3, you've got to ask, where's the consistency? If Jax can find that little bit more consistency. So let's just argue that 20.3 is absolutely everything dialed in perfect for him, every single corner, but pushing it to the absolute limit. You drop a couple of tenths over the course of a lap and make sure you're not on that raggedy edge, but repeat it. And I think that's the thing, that's the difference between the guys that regularly win races, certainly regularly finish in the top 3, and those that regularly finish mid-table, is that the guys in mid-table, which you can see running in 7th, clearly capable of over 1 lap having that incredible pace as he goes around Zumez up into 6th position. But I think the key to finishing in the top 3 is to find a number that you can do the lap in, and find one that's infinitely repeatable. So one where you're not on the edge, one where you're not pushing the car almost beyond its limits, one where you know that you can keep it slap bang on the racetrack without a spin, without a problem, and still be quick and repeat that lap. And I think that is the mark of someone who wins championships and someone who wins races. And you can see there with Shake Your Booty, that is clearly around that 20.5, 20.7 mark, because he's running around in that area and he knows he can repeat that lap after lap after lap, and that's allowing him to open up that gap. I have no doubt in my mind that he could beat that 20.3, but he doesn't need to at this stage. What he needs to do is make sure he just keeps opening that gap, keeps that gap consistent, keeps those laps consistent, and then maybe, just maybe, the last couple of laps have a little push on low fuel and see if he can maybe nick that extra point. But at the moment, consistency, absolute key. Very similar with Dan. He's had a couple of wobbles, about 23.0, costing him some time. But here's the thing now. Shark is starting to find some time behind him. 2.7 seconds. We've got 3 laps remaining here at Road Atlanta. Has Shark got enough pace? He's got to find a second a lap. Can he find that 1 second a lap and put Dan under significant pressure into the final chicane? That would certainly make for an interesting finish to this race. But at the moment, I mean, his last lap was a 21.5. Dan's with 20.9. At that pace, he's not going to catch him. Edinburgh Land, the top 3 now, other than an accident, are pretty much decided. The order probably won't change much either. Vescu pitting as we suspected. We knew he had to pit. Absolutely costly for him. I genuinely stand by. He should have pit when he picked up that damage early on. He should have pit then and cut his losses at that stage, because he lost so much track position just by the amount of pace he lost on those mediums anyway. And if you're losing pace in the mediums, you may as well be on the hards. And he should have got that stop out of the way. So he's going to come out in 10th position ahead of Schmergen. Second, he qualified on that grid. Second, and that little accident, and I think the strategic choice to start on the softs, but not get any real benefit out of it. Bear in mind that those on the mediums only stopped a lap later than he did. They didn't run that much longer. He didn't get a good longer middle stint. He didn't get anything really out of it. It's cost him, and he's down in 10th position. 17 seconds clear, of course, of Schmergen, but 5 seconds off DJ with hard tyres, still not up to speed. Although DJ picking up half-second penalty, which will help. Right, let's do the full run next. We're on lap 28 off 30. It's Schmergen at the rear of the pack, 17.2 seconds behind Vesky. Vesky 5.6 off the back of DJ. If DJ keep picking up penalties, he may just have a shot at him on that last lap. Crazy Taff, 12 seconds up the road. He's got Stu Shelton in his sights, just 1.2 seconds ahead. Crazy Taff on the softs, as is Stu Shelton, but Stu Shelton much better tyre wear for him. Zumes, the Portuguese driver, is 4.1 seconds ahead, with Jax 3 seconds down the road. Again, there's not much difference in terms of lap time. He's lapping a little bit quicker. He's got the fastest lap. Well, he had the fastest lap of the race till Shake the Booty nicked it. Edinburgh lads comfortably in 4th at the moment. Not going to knock on the door. That top 3, 15 seconds off the top 3, which is trailed by Shark, now 3.8 behind Dan. Dan's just ramped up that pace in these last couple of laps to ensure he stays ahead. This is onto the final lap for these front 3. 3.6 to Dan, but Shake Your Booty, starting from 6th on the grid, just bode his time in that mid-pack. Just happy, just ran those hard tyres for just the one lap. Into the pits, got them changed out, ran the mediums through to that midway point. Happy to sit back in the back of in that kind of midfield pack, just churning out some laps consistently, one after the other. And now, tail end of the race, now is when he turns it on. 20.3, steals back the fastest lap from Jax. 20.1 on that penultimate lap. And as he heads up the hill for the final time towards that chicane, he's got a back marker ahead of him. It is Shake Your Booty into the chicane for the final time. Just turns right. He's got one more corner. It's going to be that flat out final corner. Turn 12. Round he goes. And Shake Your Booty takes the win here at Road Atlanta, convincingly in the end from Amsterdam. Dan held on very well. Really good battle with Shark early on, despite qualifying on pole. But Dan comes home, takes second, with Shark not too far behind in 3rd. Edinburgh lad, good finish from him to finish in 4th, qualifying from 7th on the grid. But Edinburgh lad brings the car home comfortably in the end in 4th position ahead of Jax. Jax showed some pace throughout that, and Jax, who qualified way down the order in 8th, finishing in 5th. Good finish for him. It's 6th for the Portuguese driver Zumes from 9th on the grid. Stu Shelton drops down from qualifying in 5th to 7th. Crazy Taff qualified in that top 3, finishing down in 8th. DJ, who didn't qualify, started from the back of the grid, gains a couple of positions, finishes in 9th position. Vescu, who needs rescuing from this race, started 2nd on the grid. All kinds of wrong in strategy, finishing in 10th. And Schmergen losing a couple of places, qualifying in 10th, losing just that one place, comes home in, and he gets the best livery of the day award, finishing in 11th position, behind Vescu. I think Vescu for me though has got to be the the disappointment of the day, unfortunately. Shake Your Booty, though. What a performance from him from fifth on the grid. That's a brilliant, brilliant finish from him. So there we go. Round 5 is over. Good racing there. Really, really good racing. Some great overtaking as well. It's good to see some good solid overtaking. And we should see we've got a nice good street race next week. We are coming to you from Tokyo Expressway, and they're in their garage cars, the GR3 garage cars. If you don't know how it works, go over to the ZFS website, check it out. It really is worth working your way through. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Do go and check out the Lobby 2 broadcast from Quentis as well, which you can find over there on the next to this video on YouTube. All that's left to say is thank you very much for joining me. This has been the ZFS Championship, round number 5. I've been UrbanPyrate. This has been Black Flag Racing TV, and it's been emotional.